Hey guys, welcome back. So today we're going to be going over dividing decimals by whole numbers. Our first example is 4.2 divided by 3. Let's go ahead and set up our division problem. So our 3 is going to be on the outside. This is our divisor. And then our 4.2 is going to be on the inside. This is our dividend. First thing I'm going to do before I actually divide is I'm going to pinpoint where my new decimal point is going to fall in my answer. My decimal point is going to be right here between the 4 and the 2. And now I'm going to divide. So first, 3 goes into 4 how many times? It goes in 1 time. So I'm going to write a 1 on top here. 3 times 1 is 3. Then we're going to subtract. 4 minus 3 is 1. Now I'm going to bring down my 2. 3 goes into 12 how many times? It's going to be 4. So 3 times 4 is 12. 12 minus 12 is going to equal 0. So your final answer, your quotient, is going to equal 1.4. And remember, if you want to check your answer, you're going to multiply your quotient, which is 1.4 here, 1.4 times your divisor, 3, and this should equal your dividend. So let's try this. 4 times 3 is going to give us 12. I'm going to write my 2, carry the 1, and then 3 times 1 is 3 plus 1 more is going to be 4. And my decimal point is going to go right here between the 4 and the 2. So it equals my dividend. I know that is the correct answer. Let's look at this example, 2.49 divided by 3. I'm going to go ahead and set up our division problem. My 3 is on the outside and then 2.49 on the inside. My decimal point is going to fall right here between the 2 and the 4. So let's go ahead and divide. 3 goes into 2 how many times? It doesn't go. It's too small. So I'm going to write 0 on top here. Now let's go. 3 goes into 24 now how many times? 3 goes into 24, we have here 8 times. So I'm going to write an 8 on top here. 3 times 8 is 24. 24 minus 24 is going to give us 0. I'm going to bring down my 9. 3 goes into 9 how many times? 3 times 4 is 12. And then if I have 3 times 3, this is going to give us 9. Perfect. That's exactly what we're looking for. So I'm going to write a 3 on top here because 3 times 3 does equal 9. Now we're going to subtract. 9 minus 9 is going to be 0. So your final answer is 0.83. Let's try this example, 18.45 divided by 15. I'm going to set up our division problem here. This is my dividend and my divisor is out here. My new decimal point is going to fall right here between the 8 and the 4. So now let's go ahead and divide. 15 goes into 1 how many times? It doesn't go, it's too small. What about 15 goes into 18? How many times does 15 goes into 18? So the closest number that I can use is going to be 15 times 1, which equals 15. So I'm going to write a 1 on top here. 15 times 1, we just said was 15. 18 minus 15 is going to give us 3. I'm going to bring down my 4. 15 goes into 34 how many times? The closest number that I can use is going to be 15 times 3 is too high. So the closest number I can use is 15 times 2. That's going to give us 30. So I'm going to write a 2 on top here. 15 times 2 is 30. 34 minus 30 is going to equal 4. I'm going to bring down my 5. 15 goes into 45 now how many times? It goes in 3 times. So I'm going to write a 3 on top here. My 5. 15 times 3 is 45. 45 minus 45 is going to equal 0. So your final answer is 1.23. So let's go ahead and try this example here. I'm going to set up our division problem. 423.5 on the inside and your 7 is on the outside. My new decimal point is going to fall in my answer. It's going to fall right here. So let's divide. 7 goes into 4 how many times? It doesn't go, it's too small. What about 7 goes into 42? The closest number that we can use is going to be 7 times 6. That's going to give us 42. So I'm going to write a 6 on top here, right on top of my 2. 7 times 6, we said was 42. 42 minus 42 is going to equal 0. I'm going to bring down my 3. 7 goes into 3 how many times? It doesn't go into 3 because it's too small. So I'm going to write a 0 on top here. 7 times 0 is 0. 3 minus 0 is 3. Now we're going to bring down our 5. 7 goes into 35 now how many times? 5 times. 7 times 5 is 35. So I'm going to write a 5 on top here. 7 times 5 we said was 35. 35 minus 35 is going to equal 0. So your final answer, your quotient, is 60.5. And remember to check your answer. You're going to multiply 60.5. You're going to multiply your quotient times your divisor, and this is going to give you your dividend. Let's try this example, 27.28 divided by 8. We're going to set up our division problem here. So 27.28 on the inside and your 8 on the outside. The decimal point in my answer is going to fall right here between the 7 and the 2. So let's go ahead and divide. 8 goes into 2 how many times? It doesn't go. It's too small. And if you want, you can add a 0 here, but you do not have to. You can just move on to the next digit. 8 goes into 27 now how many times? The closest largest number that I can use is going to be 8 times 3. That's going to give us 24. So I'm going to write a 3 on top here. 8 times 3 is 24. 27 minus 24 is going to equal 3. I'm going to bring down my 2. 8 goes into 32 now how many times? It goes in 4 times. So I'm going to write a 4 on top here. 8 times 4 is 32. 32 minus 32 is going to equal 0. I'm going to bring down my 8. 8 goes into 8 now how many times? It goes in 1 time. 8 times 1 is 8. 8 minus 8 is 0. So your quotient, your final answer is 3.41. Let's try this example. Let's go ahead and set up our division problem. 4.272 on the inside and your 6 is on the outside. My decimal point, my new decimal point is going to fall right here in my answer between the 4 and the 2. So 6 goes into 4 how many times? It doesn't go, it's too small, but just go ahead and add a 0 here. 6 goes into 42 now how many times? It goes in 7 times. 6 times 7 is 42. So I'm going to write a 7 on top here. 6 times 7 we said was 42. 42 minus 42 is going to equal 0. Now I'm going to bring down my 7. 6 goes into 7 now how many times? It only goes in 1 time. 6 times 1 is going to give us 6. 7 minus 6 is 1. Now I'm going to bring down my 2. 6 goes into 12 now how many times? 6 times 2 is 12. So I'm going to write a 2 on top here. 6 times 2 we said was 12. 12 minus 12 is going to equal 0. So your quotient, your final answer is 0.712. Let's try this example here. So we have $55.55 divided by 5. So let's go ahead and set up our problem. We have 55.55 on the inside and your 5, your divisor is on the outside. My decimal point in my answer is going to fall right here between the two 5s. So first, 5 goes into 5 how many times? It goes in 1 time. 5 times 1 is 5. Now we're going to subtract. 5 minus 5 is 0. I'm going to bring this 5 down. 5 goes into 5 again. How many times? It goes in 1 time. So 5 times 1 is 5. 5 minus 5 is 0. I'm going to bring down my 5 again. 5 goes into 5, we said, is 1 time. 5 times 1 is 5. I'm going to subtract. 5 minus 5 is 0. And we're going to try one more time. We're going to bring down this 5. 5 goes into the last 5 now. How many times? 1 time. So 5 times 1 is 5. 5 minus 5 is 0. So your final answer is going to be $11.11. Let's try this example. So we have $234.84 divided by 19. So let's go ahead and set this up. 19 on the outside. Our new decimal point in our answer is going to fall right here between the 4 and the 8. So 19 goes in a 2 how many times? It doesn't go, it's too small. What about 19 goes into 23? The closest largest number that I can use is going to be 19 times 1. That's going to give us 19. Because 19 times 2 is 38, and that's too high. So I'm going to write a 1 on top here. 19 times 1 is 19. Now we're going to subtract 23 minus 19. So 3 minus 9 is going to give us a negative number. I'm going to borrow from this 2. This 2 is going to become a 1. This 3 here is going to become a 13. So 13 minus 9 is going to equal 4. So 23 minus 19 equals 4. I'm going to bring down this other 4 here. 19 goes into 44 now how many times? The closest number I can use is going to be 19 times 2. That equals 38. So I'm going to write a 2 on top here. 19 times 2 is 38. I'm going to go right here. 44 minus 38. 4 minus 4 is going to give us a negative number. So I'm going to borrow. This 4 is going to become a 3. This 4 here is going to become a 14. 14 minus 8 is going to equal 6. And then 3 minus 3 is 0. So 44 minus 38 equals 6. I'm going to bring down this 8. 19 goes into 68 now how many times? The closest largest number to use is going to be 19 times 3. That's going to give us 57. So I'm going to write a 3 on top here. 19 times 3 is 57. 8 minus 7 is going to equal 1. 6 minus 5 is also going to equal 1. Now I'm going to bring down my 4. 19 goes into 114 now how many times? It goes in 6 times. So I'm going to write a 6 on top here. 19 times 6 is 114. 114 minus 114 is going to equal 0. So your quotient, your final answer is 12.36. So let's look at this example here. First, I'm going to go ahead and set up our division problem. My 24 on the outside. My new decimal point is going to fall right here between the 5 and the 2. So now let's go ahead and divide. So 24 goes into 1 how many times? It doesn't go, it's too small. 24 goes into 11 now how many times? It still doesn't go, it's too small. What about 24 goes into 115 now how many times? So the closest number that I can use is going to be 24 times 4. That's going to give us 96. So I'm going to write a 4 on top here. 24 times 4, we said was 96. So now we're going to subtract 115 minus 96. 5 minus 6 is going to give us a negative number. So I'm going to borrow from this 1. This is going to become a 0. This 5 here is going to become a 15. 15 minus 6 is going to give us 9. And then here we have 10 minus 9. This is going to give us a 1. So 115 minus 96 is going to equal 19. I'm going to bring down my 2. 24 goes into 192 now how many times? This is perfect. This is what we're looking for. So 24 times 8 is 192. I'm going to write an 8 on top here. 24 times 8 we said was 192. 192 minus 192 is going to equal 0. So your final answer, your quotient is 4.8. All right, let's try one more example. So we have 0.80 divided by 5, 0.80 on the inside, and your 5 is on the outside. Your new decimal point in your answer is going to fall right here between the 0 and the 8. 5 goes into 0 how many times? It goes into 0 times. 5 times 0 is 0. 0 minus 0 is going to equal 0. I'm going to bring down my 8. 5 goes into 8 now how many times? It only goes into 8 one time. The closest number to use is 5 times 1. 5 times 1 is 5. We're going to subtract 8 minus 5 is going to equal 3. I'm going to bring down my 0. So 5 goes in a 30 now how many times? The closest number to use is going to be 5 times 6. That's going to give us 30, so I'm going to write a 6 on top here. 5 times 6 is 30. 30 minus 30 is going to equal 0. So your final answer, your quotient, is going to be 0.16. All right, so that is all for today, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye, guys.